A teenage boy, often dismissed as insignificant, found himself at the mercy of the school's most feared gang, who coerced him into consuming an illegal drug. He believed it was just a pill that might cause some dizziness. Yet, as soon as he swallowed it, his perception of reality warped dramatically. In this surreal whirlwind, the gang members morphed into monstrous figures with fangs, horns, and wings. These demonic apparitions whispered to him in a voice that was both chilling and strangely comforting, urging him to heat a damn towel in the microwave to see the explosion it would cause. In his altered state, this seemed like a logical idea. He placed the towel in the microwave and pressed the button, resulting in a massive explosion that obliterated his home. When Lee Yoon-sung regained consciousness, he found himself in the ICU, his face severely burned and permanently disfigured. Upon his recovery and release, he was met not with compassion, but with ridicule and scorn from his classmates. The real instigator, Park Sang-cheol, stood by with his cronies, taunting him. "You're quite something, kid. You survived those injuries and still managed to put out the fire. You should be thanking me. If I hadn't pulled you out, you'd be dead." Seeing no gratitude in Lee Yoon-sung's eyes, Park Sang-cheol lashed out, yelling, "What's with that look? I'm the one who saved your life. Aren't you going to thank me, you worthless piece of trash?" Lee Yoon-sung found this beyond belief. He wanted to retaliate and destroy the person who had ruined his life, but years of bullying had left him unable to even lift his head. Like a submissive dog, he repeatedly apologized in a low voice, allowing his remaining dignity to be eroded. He endured his school days with gritted teeth. After school, when he returned to the shelter, his mother tearfully informed him that the police had closed the case, officially naming him the arsonist. All the witnesses claimed he had taken drugs and intentionally started the fire, absolving themselves of any involvement. Realizing he had been made the scapegoat, Lee Yoon-sung felt utterly hollow. Although he was not yet 13 and would not face legal punishment, his family would receive no insurance compensation for the fire and would have to bear the significant financial burden of their neighbors' losses. From that moment onward, his existence felt as though it was enveloped in a dull, gray mist, leaving him to navigate a bewildering and monotonous daily life. Nevertheless, Park Sang-cheol was relentless in his harassment. This individual would show up at his residence every few days, compelling his dementia-afflicted grandmother to crawl like an animal, capturing the degrading scenes on his phone and sharing them online as a joke. The accumulation of these humiliations eventually snapped Lee Yoon-sung out of his stupor. He realized that his own vulnerability only emboldened malicious people. Determined to change, he approached the best fighter at school and quietly asked for lessons in self-defense. He understood that the current laws were ineffective in protecting people like him. From that moment on, Lee Yoon-sung resolved to take matters into his own hands, vowing to exact revenge on every tormentor by dragging them into their own personal hell. Over the following years, he kept a low profile, trained diligently, endured beatings, and persevered until his combat skills were honed to perfection. One day, he learned that Park Sang-cheol had been incarcerated in a juvenile detention center for a crime. At that moment, his plan crystallized. He deliberately committed a bank robbery and brazenly insulted the judge in juvenile court, portraying himself as an irredeemable extremist. As he had hoped, he was sent to a juvenile detention center filled with various delinquent youths. He had already gained a thorough understanding of the inner workings of the facility. To ensure he was placed in the same cell as Park Sang-cheol, he targeted Lee Gwak-hyun, the officer responsible for inmate discipline. Casually, as if engaging in small talk, he asked, "Instructor, 3 days ago at dawn, did you use a phone app to meet an underage girl? And didn't you deceive her by claiming you drove a luxury car, only to trick her into getting in and then do that to her?" As soon as the words were spoken, Lee Gwak-hyun's face turned ashen. With his secret exposed, he panicked and demanded to know what it would take for him to be left alone. Only then did Lee Yoon-sung calmly and deliberately present his first condition. To protect his job, Lee Gwak-hyun had no choice but to use his authority to assign him to the desired cell, even instructing others to treat him well. However, The group of delinquents didn't take this so-called care seriously at all. The overweight one immediately began spreading rumors. With Tree Song, he was a little bit more and more. Treatment like this kid must have offered up his ass to get into this prime spot. Before he could finish his sentence, a foot had already collided with his filthy, deceitful mouth. Not wanting to waste any time on his revenge, Lee Yun-song used the momentum to charge at the remaining scoundrels, skillfully knocking these insignificant figures to the ground. This scene caused Park Sang-cheol, who was hiding nearby, to slightly change his expression. He was uncertain if this newcomer would also target him. As he hesitated, he observed the newcomer slowly lowering the blanket that concealed his face. The face that emerged was one he recognized all too well. It was Lee Yun-song, the person he had once treated as a plaything. Tension quickly turned into excitement as he heard Lee Yun-song speak in a casual tone. There's a way to take down a professional Muay Thai fighter with just one finger. Want to know how? For someone like Park Sang-cheol, who is always eager for new tricks, he immediately took the bait. What way? Tell me. Quickly. Park Sang-cheol, that's your favorite method, isn't it? Before the words were fully spoken, his hand had already reached under the blanket and grabbed a bottle of anti-inflammatory spray. Watching this clueless fool, Park Sang-cheol, still trying to remember, he flicked his wrist. A stream of spray shot directly into the other man's eyes. This is how you take down a professional Muay Thai fighter with just one finger. With that, he lifted his leg and delivered a powerful kick straight to the groin. A blood-curdling scream immediately echoed through the cell. Who the hell goes straight for a sneak attack down there? Before he could finish shouting, countless punches were already raining down on him. Seeing that Park Sang-cheol was covering his face with all his might, focusing entirely on defending his upper body, Lee Yun-sung instantly switched tactics and concentrated all his attacks on the lower half. This is the most basic principle in fighting. If your opponent guards high, you hit low. If he guards low, you hit high. Only then did the foolish Park Sang-cheol finally realize that the person he had once treated as insignificant now dared to turn the tables and play him like a fool. Enraged, he flailed his fists like a mad dog. But the searing pain in his eyes made it impossible for him to see anything clearly, so he could only keep reassuring himself in his mind. Just hold on a bit longer. Once my vision returns, I can turn the tables. He had no idea that in the very next moment, he would be completely overpowered. Lee Yun-sung grabbed a towel and quickly bound his wrist, then gave it a fierce twist, breaking that arm with brute force, and then seized his head and slammed it hard onto the floor. In the past, Park Sang-cheol had tricked him into putting a towel in the microwave by drugging him with hallucinogens, resulting in a massive explosion. Now, he intended to use that very towel to deliver justice to this man. He assumed the individual before him was too weakened to retaliate. Unexpectedly, Park Sang-cheol began to writhe slowly on the floor, using his own blood to painstakingly clear the spray from his eyes. As his vision returned, he took advantage of a brief lapse in Lee Yun-sung's vigilance and delivered a powerful kick from behind. Repeated provocations had pushed Park Sang-cheol's anger to the brink of overwhelming his reason. Once a Muay Thai fighter with a respectable record, he found it easy to eliminate someone who had once been at his mercy. In the past, the mere raising of his hand would cause Lee Yun-sung to curl up like a worm, tearfully pleading for him to stop. With that sense of dominance, he raised his leg high to strike, completely oblivious to the blanket now quietly spread beneath his feet. Losing his balance, he fell hard to the ground. No one understood better than Lee Yun-sung what a fool like Park Sang-cheol was like. Once emotionally charged, he would automatically ignore all the details around him. Handling prey like this was, in his view, as easy as solving a multiple-choice math problem. The off-balance Park Sang-cheol was completely pinned beneath him. All the humiliation and pain accumulated over the years were unleashed on the other man with each punch. Every blow a farewell to his former self. Before long, Park Sang-cheol couldn't endure it anymore. Trembling all over, he raised his hand and choked out an apology. "I'm sorry. I really am. But what unforgivable sin did I commit? Back then we were just kids. Isn't that just how everyone plays when they're little? Those words made the color drain from Lee Yoon-sung's face in an instant. He should have known that someone like Park Sang-cheol, rotten to the core, could never truly grasp how terrifying his own cruelty was. So he grabbed a metal clip without hesitation and stuffed it into Park Sang-cheol's mouth in one go. Since you love spouting nonsense so much, then don't ever talk again. His fists crashed down again and again, and all the scenes of bullying from those years flash through his mind like a revolving lantern. Some say that old scars should be left in the past, that time will wash everything away, and that this is how everyone gets by. But to the present-day Lee Yoon-sung, he no longer wanted to be forced to adapt. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth was the only way he could protect himself and his family. Throughout the subsequent 5 months, he persistently employed strangulation methods on Park Sang-cheol daily. He even instructed the cellmates to join in. Each time Park Sang-cheol fainted, they would make a mark on the wall. Now, that wall was densely covered, a testament to his suffering, with a total of 898 fainting spells recorded. Because Lee Yoon-sung had a critical hold over Lee Gwak-yeon, the intimidated instructor could only suppress his displeasure, even quietly pleading with the prison management to let them be and not interfere. Unfortunately, only 6 days remained until Lee Yoon-sung's release. As he plotted his next move for revenge, a mysterious woman visited the prison, claiming to be his sister and having specifically requested to meet him. Confronted with this overly dramatic contact, Lee Yoon-sung got straight to the point. Park Sang-cheol is already half paralyzed, so he's essentially dealt with. Tell me about the next target. The woman opened a file and began to explain. The target attends a prestigious high school in Gangnam. His grandfather is the director of a renowned hospital, and his family is distinguished. He is also a model student with good character and excellent grades, a member of the student council who often serves the school and his classmates. His private life is spotless, with virtually no faults. Could someone this perfect really be a villain? Hearing this, Lee Yoon-sung's expression darkened. He knew the face in the photo better than anyone, painfully aware of the malicious intent hidden beneath Jo Young-bim's perfect facade. When he was bullied by Park Sang-cheol, Jo Young-bim was always there, watching like a spectator. Once, he had even casually asked, "Don't you have an older sister? How old is she?" Remembering this, Lee Yoon-sung declared without hesitation, "Jo Young-bim, the one who ruined my life, is a master at concealing his true evil." After the meeting, he returned to the cell, only to find that among those kneeling to greet him, one was missing, Park Sang-cheol. "What's going on?" he frowned. The chubby one quickly stammered an explanation. After lunch, Park Sang-cheol just kept hiding in the corner. When he learned that Park Sang-cheol had started refusing to eat, Lee Yoon-sung suddenly stepped forward and grabbed him by the throat. "Hey, you worthless piece of trash. How dare you waste food?" Strangled until his eyes rolled back, Park Sang-cheol could only stutter an apology. This only infuriated Lee Yoon-sung more. He nearly used enough force to snap his cervical spine as he warned again, "I told you, you're not allowed to talk. Human language is no longer available to a less-than-human creature like you." His legs were shaking violently. He already suffered from severe post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of the prolonged torture, and the repeated oxygen deprivation had damaged his brain. The self-declared strongman was no longer Park Sang-cheol. He had been. However, Lee Yoon-sung felt that this was still insufficient. In his heart, he made up his mind. He would force Park Sang-cheol to faint 101 more times over the next 6 days, bringing the total to a tidy, full 1,000. It was 6 days before he was back in the sun. At the last minute, the initial target of 1,000 fainting spells had been surpassed, totaling 1,200. She gestured for him to get in the car eagerly. "We'll begin the next mission right away in an hour." A professional makeup artist first had to design a completely new identity for him before he could act. Soon after, Lee Yoon-sung changed from a scarred young criminal to a handsome, fresh-faced high school lad under the makeup artist's nearly supernatural touch. He hurried to the high school, where Jo Young-bim was a student without pausing, stood at the head of the class as a fresh transfer and composedly presented himself. "You can call me Lee Yun-sung. Please look after me going forward." Class would begin in 5 minutes, the teacher said casually, pointing out an empty seat for him to sit in. He hadn't anticipated that the other would eagerly obstruct him as he passed a fat child. "Hey, that self-introduction of yours was far too hesitant. Repeat, but make it louder this time." Too many times he has witnessed such dull provocation. He looked at the door to the classroom and verified that the teacher was not there. His toe rose in the next second, but not in the direction of the fat child, but rather toward the shadowy figure behind him. That someone was tugging the strings from behind was already evident from the unnatural tension in the classroom, which was somewhat more than the fat kid's voice when he started a fight. Lee Yun-sung quickly recognized the true instigators when he noticed two men grinning together while lurking in the back. He took advantage of the situation by giving one of the smirking guys in the back row a barrage of slaps before cleanly flipping the other guy, who was attempting to rush him from behind, over his shoulder and slamming him to the ground. He then repeated his self-introduction while looking down from above at the thug on the floor, all of them staring at him in horror. "I'm Lee Yun-sung, and I'm 18 years old. Reading and fighting are my hobbies." The class looked at our main character with deep fear as he thinks of what to do to the bullies lying on the ground. To watch the next part of this video, like and subscribe to not miss out.